Building an organization with a thriving and a healthy culture of learning is the aspiration of every single L&D leader. But it's an aspiration that cannot be met all alone by the L&D leader. What they need is the contribution and collaboration with several stakeholders within the organization. Over the last 10 years, our work environment has changed dramatically, and it needs an equally dramatic change in our approach to enterprise or corporate learning. Our guest today explores the aspects of corporate learning that need to change with the changing times. Let's jump in. Our guest today is Atikur Rahman. Atik, thank you so much for taking time out this evening. Quick introduction about Atik. Atik is a veteran in the world of pharma and diagnostics. Atik has a little over 2 decades of experience in this space. He has worked in both sales and marketing as well as learning and development as part of his career. Atik is skilled in pharmaceutical sales, product launches, coaching, and training and development. He currently manages L&D, learning and development at Pathkind Labs, Pathkind Diagnostics. Prior to Pathkind, Atik has also worked at Merck, AstraZeneca, and Unichem. Atik, welcome again. And the topic that we want to deliberate upon this evening is something that's very close to our heart, something that we work upon on day in, day out, is the role of the L&D leader in today's world as far as building a learning culture is involved in an organization. A bit of background, specifically over the last decade, right, last 10 years, I think there are 2 specific things that have happened which have really impacted how the learners in a workplace environment are learning and building up the skills is concerned. Number one is that our workforce now is largely comprised of millennials and post-millennials, the I generation, as we call them. Their outlook towards their career, their professional profile is extremely different compared to what their parents' outlook was. That's one. And number 2, specifically in the last 3 years, the COVID-19 fueled pandemic has really blurred the whole spaces between home and workspaces. Remote working and working from and a hybrid model are fast becoming a norm and accepted practice at most organizations. Now, with that in perspective, what would you think are the key drivers and how are the L&D leaders supposed to think about building a learning culture? And I think it's very important, especially for people who are freshly into this career. Right, and so it will be great to hear your opinions on that front, Atik.
First of all, thank you very much, Dheeraj, for having me on with you on this topic. As you have correctly said, it for last 2 to 3 years have been very disruptive in terms of delivering and making the people to learn something new. So it is imperative to use the digital means to deliver our content. As a L&D manager, even we feel that the learning intervention should not be the learning interventions now. It should be the flow of their work. Because in today's generation, with the advent of the tools like Google, YouTube, Facebook, a lot of social media platforms, so people just go and consume the content and learn something new. But every learning is not very relevant to their need. So it becomes very imperative for a learning manager in a corporate setup. So to design a learning interventions in a way that it becomes relevant to the corporate organization's goal. So the challenge is to utilize digital means to deliver the content where the learners are. So it should not be the intervention. It should be the content should be consumed with the flow of their work. And that's I think is very it's demanded with the new generation, Gen Zs. Right. Unlike the traditional learners, which they were comfortable sitting in a classroom for hours and consume the knowledge and keep it updated after time to time. But now Gen Zs are very you see, their attention span is very small. Right. YouTube is. You can see that YouTube is also focusing on this, and that's why they keep the ad for 6 seconds to make it skip. So it clearly says that they can only concentrate on a topic for 6 seconds. If it is if they find it relevant to them, they can continue with it. Otherwise, they will just skip it. So the similar way, we have to actually use this data and use this behavior in order to design the content and our interactions with the learners, so that they not only consume it timely, but also use it, making it more relevant.
So I think, how would you, specifically, suggest, right? What are the things that L&D team can really do to actually make that happen, right? So I mean, it's easy to say that that in YouTube we have ads to capture attention in like 5 to 6 seconds, and after that only if they're interested that they continue, right? But how do you really translate that to actually creating content, the learning content, learning programs, which really grip the attention of today's workforce? Do you have specific examples? Because we hear a lot about micro learning and stuff like that. Are those the methodologies to adopt?
Oh, yes, of course. So instructional designing plays an important role, and L&D should essentially have the skills to develop the courses according to the need and behavior of the today's learner. I not tend to believe that we can do everything, almost everything on the mobile phone. There are many things which should always be done on offline as well. So we have studied the impact of culture. Basically, the organizational culture plays the most important role in imparting the knowledge and skill to the employees. So that culture should imbibe the new technologies. They should be open for the new technologies so that we can understand the need of new learners. So it is at the same time, it is very important for employees to be able to quickly find the content available at wherever they want. So it should be available every time. It should not be like that based on the interventions only. So we should always consider the 4 E's of learning, like education, experience, environment, and exposure, in terms of imparting the learnings. We should utilize, I think, one essential part is LMS, Learning Management System. And as LMS has also evolved very impactfully over a period of time. Earlier, it used to be just e-learning platform. Now, it should be experience learning. The learner should feel good while using that LMS. And whenever he or she needs it, he should be able to find it, the learning content easily, and consume it very easily.
Correct. I think you're right. I mean, in our growing up years, we've always seen LMS to be in a specific location, attached to your laptop or your work desk, and you would need to commit to certain amount of hours at a stretch, right, to really go ahead and complete that, and that is changing dramatically right now.
Of course, we cannot push learners to learn something new. We should make the content available at their pace and their place.
Right. At their pace.
And this is a choice the learners have decided now. Right. So whenever we push it, it is just like a formality. It's a ritual. So learner complete it. But when they need it, they really consume it and learn something new.
Got it. Is there a role that the SMEs can also play, the subject matter experts? Because traditionally, any learning content that has been built, obviously it depends heavily on the subject matter experts to contribute and make sure that the content is is relevant, is up to date. And is their role changing? Is their role going to evolve in the next few years?
L&D should focus on the experience design. So an SME should get equipped himself with the L&D skills and capabilities, understand the behaviors and the psyche of the new learners, so that they can design the programs or learning programs which is very acceptable to the new Gen Z learners. Yes. So especially experience design and design thinking and the new buzzword in L&D scenarios, that one should learn, one should be open to learn these new skills.
Right.
So the new learning should be more experiential, data driven, Okay, it should be in the within the flow of their work. So we should drive the data, okay, what they are liking, like what we do in digital marketing. I think these all the skills we should imbibe in as a new modern L&D manager as well, and a subject matter expert as well.
Got it. Okay, I think my final question. So we've spoken about the role of the L&D leader, this role of the subject matter experts, and obviously the learner, right? The end learners who will undergo those courses that are designed. So my question is not specifically on the CXO, right? The CEO or the chief human resource officer, right? Is there a role change for them as well, as far as the learning culture is dependent, something that you think they should also look at differently?
Culture is always developed and nourished by the vision and mission of the company. And vision and mission is always right from the top management, the CEO and the COOs of the company.
Right.
So I think this is the starting point where they can always look into the latest needs, the modern needs, and how we can make this culture thriving, and it should continue developing the new talent in the market, in the organization, developing new leaders in the organization, and ultimately benefiting the business development.
Right. So what you are really saying is that it has to be like a top-driven approach.
Yes, of course.
CXOs support this piece, right, and it becomes easier for the L&D teams to go out and execute and collaborate effectively with the SMEs, right?
Yes, of course. And you must have seen in the organizations that most robust and aggressive organization always believe in the learning and development more robustly. Even in my current organization is very well dedicated for this, and we have a different place in our particular domain as well.
Absolutely true. Yeah, no, I agree. In Pathkind Labs is absolutely different league altogether right now. Adik, thank you so much for your time this evening. I think there's been a lot of insights over here. Hopefully, some of the peers in the industry will be able to take some of these insights and be able to leverage them, as they build out their strategies for the year and the years going forward. All right. So there are 6 key takeaways over here. Number 1, instead of continuing the traditional learning interventions, the design of learning programs should be so that they fit in with the flow of work for the learners today. So that's very important. Number 2, explore and adopt new technologies that are making learning more accessible. Number 3, mobile-based learning is very essential for the workforce today. It needs to go hand in hand with the physical learning requirements. Number 4, the learning content needs to be available to the learners at their pace and at their place. And a mobile-first LMS can help with exactly that. Number 5, the role of the SMEs or the subject matter experts also needs to change. They need to be more collaborative along with the L&D leaders to make sure that the courses being built are actually usable by the learners today. And finally, and probably the most important, the CXOs have an extremely critical role to play. Every aggressively growing organization has a very solid support system for learning and development needs of their staff. It is a top-down culture that needs the full backing of the organization. It starts with the CEO going all the way down. We hope you found this useful. Until next time, take care.